I became a stallion for a limited time. My name is Otto. My grandfather was German and my grandmother Irish. Despite the mixed race, I retain European features. I am tall, white-skinned, and have slightly blue eyes. In the early 60s, I graduated as a primary school teacher. When I applied for a job at the Ministry of Education, I was informed that getting a job in urban areas was quite difficult, but that it was much easier to do so in rural areas, and the further away, the better. This was considered a social service and granted merits for future relocation to urban areas. I was offered a position on the Atlantic coast, in a semi-jungle area with a population that was mostly Miskito and dark-skinned. I took it for what it really was for me, an adventure in which I would gain work experience. After a long journey, first by plane, then by land vehicle and finally by canoe, I arrived at my final destination, a small hamlet of no more than 15 straw huts. The school also had a thatched roof, a single room, a bit too big, with bamboo walls, 2 entrances without doors and a dirt floor that the students themselves periodically moistened and then smoothed. Upon seeing me arrive, a beautiful young woman came out to greet me, an example of her race. Slender, with a very good body, long and well-formed legs, with her curly hair like a large, round turban and fine features on her face. She was wearing shorts and a t-shirt without a bra, which allowed me to see 2 young, firm breasts, with nipples that were outlined in all their splendor. With a friendly smile she said to me, "Hello, teacher, I am Magda." I answered her greeting as best I could. "Let me take the suitcase." "No, leave it, I can handle it, it's small." "Let me take you home." He showed me the way to one of the small huts. Inside there was a small metal cot and a wooden table. "Make yourself comfortable," he said, always smiling. "In fact, the food is ready. Do you want to eat?" I gladly accepted, since it was already close to 4 in the afternoon and I hadn't eaten anything since breakfast. He took me to his house, introduced me to his parents and his sister, who was about 2 years older than her. They were very polite and gave me food. Then he accompanied me to what would be my home for the next few days, while he told me, "I'm going to stay with you to keep you company." Amazed, I asked him, "How is that? What are your parents going to say?" With great naturalness he answered, "Nothing, they already know and they will feel offended if you despise me." "I don't understand, are you saying that they will be offended if I snub you?" "Yes," she replied laconically, "if you want, we can go and ask my father." "Okay, stay. So, do you want to go and bathe in the river?" On the way to the river, we passed her house, happily saying to her parents, "Let's go to the river for a while." The father smiled in acceptance. Later, questioning her, I realized that it was a custom, especially if the man was of foreign appearance. What more could I ask of life? I had barely arrived and already had a partner to share my solitude with. The path to the river was a trail that meandered through the dense rainforest. The gigantic trees, with their gnarled roots and vine-covered branches, formed a canopy that filtered the sunlight in golden beams. The sounds of the jungle surrounded us, the song of toucans, the distant howl of monkeys and the constant buzz of insects. When we reached the river, a wide and majestic body of water that reflected the warm colors of the sunset, I was amazed. The sun was beginning to set on the horizon, bathing the entire landscape in orange and pink tones. Magda, with the greatest naturalness, took off the little clothing she was wearing and invited me to do the same. After a couple of dips, she approached me flirtatiously, hugging me tenderly while kissing my mouth. We mutually caressed every curve of our bodies. Magda was attractive enough to inspire the highest emotions, especially in a lonely bachelor like me. It was not necessary to love. It was enough with a passion that at that moment I felt caressing her body and kissing her lips to take my excitement to the maximum. With the water at waist level, lifting her body was so easy, which I did to find the position that would facilitate our union. With an intense kiss, we rocked in the water to the rhythm of her moans of pleasure, while the sun finally disappeared, leaving behind a starry sky. The cot turned out to be quite small for 2 people, so we slept hugging each other in the moments when we were not making love. The closeness of our bodies, the warmth of her skin against mine, and the soft sound of her breathing made that night a unique and unforgettable experience. The next morning, when I carefully observed the population of the hamlet, I did not think I would have many students. However, before 8 in the morning, children began to arrive in small canoes that they handled perfectly, gliding skillfully over the river waters. There were children of different ages. Some had already attended school before and others had not. 15 children of different educational levels showed up, and I had to attend to them individually according to their progress. The days passed at a calm pace but full of learning and new experiences. For 3 days I received a visit from Magda, who shared her body and warmth with me every night. On the 4th day, surprisingly, Tina, her older sister, showed up in her place, with the same argument that if I scorned her, her parents would be offended. What a great sacrifice I had made! I realized that they were using me as a stud. Tina, with her more mature demeanor and equally charming smile, joined me in intimacy. The connection with Tina was different, slower but equally deep. Her caresses were firmer, whispers full of desire and glances that spoke of a contained passion. The nights with her were a ballet of emotions and sensations, where each movement was a declaration of desire and each kiss a promise fulfilled. I asked Magda, the most communicative, to explain this attitude of promiscuity better. With her characteristic smile, she told me that anyone in the community would feel happy and honored if I got pregnant, since the idea was to improve the race. If I did not object, single women would continue to come to try to have a child with me. At first, the idea seemed absurd to me. But Magda made me see how happy women would be to have a child with a different and genetically improved physique, mainly her. She also explained to me that, at least those who came from other places, I would not see them again. If that was the general theory of that entire community, I came to the conclusion that, in a strange way, I would be helping them as a voluntary donor. During the school year I was there, at least one girl arrived every 2 weeks. I never knew what the result of these unions was. With Magda, however, we cultivated a different relationship, one that transcended mere physical attraction. Love blossomed between us and bore fruit, our daughter Lupe, who currently lives with me in the city. Every day in the village was full of small wonders and challenges. At dusk, the jungle landscape was transformed into a spectacle of colors and sounds. The sunset over the immense river, with its waters reflecting the golden and orange tones of the sky, was an impressive spectacle. Howler monkeys filled the air with their resonant calls, while toucans, with their bright beaks, flew from tree to tree. The river, lined with lush vegetation and home to a rich diversity of fauna, became our refuge. Here, in this remote corner of the world, we found a peace and connection that could hardly be described in words. The sound of running water, the rustling of the breeze through the leaves, and the symphony of wildlife created a perfect environment for love and introspection. The months passed, and although at first the idea of being a stud seemed absurd to me, over time I understood that in a strange way I was contributing to the community. The women who came were looking not only for a child, but also for an opportunity to improve the lives of their descendants. And in that act of love and generosity, I found a purpose I had never imagined. The relationship with Magda deepened, and the birth of Lupe sealed our bond in a way that no other tie could. Although I left the hamlet to return to the city, the memory of those days and nights in the jungle, the smiles of the children, and the warmth of Magda, will always live in my memory. The jungle taught me much more than I expected, and in its green embrace, I found true and lasting love. If you liked the video, give it a like and subscribe, it would help us a lot.